If I'm not elected, we're seeing what could be the absolute downfall of California. When Newsom was on camera, you could see the glow of the fire and the smoke and everything else. And he was excited. He was excited that the Palisades burned down. It was when he was doing his little jig. And he was excited that they lost their money. Why was he excited? The Democrat Party has been in control of California for 60 years. Complete control for the last 20. Every single thing that we are suffering from now is the direct result of a failed Democrat progressive policy. All of the people that are on the Democrat side running against me right now are the same people that put us in this position in the first place. Downtown San Francisco is a third world country. And we watched in one weekend that Newsom said, San Francisco law enforcement is a failure. I'm going to be the savior and clean up our city in a weekend because the Chinese president's coming. And in one weekend, they cleaned up the entire downtown San Francisco. And they made it out like local San Francisco police was not doing their job.
This is the True Hustle Podcast with your host, JR.
This is the True Hustle Podcast with your host, JR.
So I want to start off by saying that we have a problem with these oil refineries leaving California. If Valero is going to leave and take a $1.1 billion loss, to me, that's a red flag. What do you think about that?
If a company, think about what $1 billion is.
It's massive.
If a company is going to willingly walk away from $1 billion, how bad must California actually be for their business that they're willing to lose $1 billion just to get out of it? That's bad.
That's insane.
That should, every single Californian should be saying, what in the world? Every business owner in California should be scratching their heads thinking, I'm in the same place.
Because businesses are in business to make money, not to lose money.
Yeah.
So if you're willing to take that type of loss, it's just a reflection of what's going on here in California.
Yeah, because they knew without taking that $1 billion loss, they knew that their losses were going to be substantially more than $1 billion.
Wow.
Exponentially more than $1 billion.
Why is that?
Excessive regulation, excessive business taxes, the over-regulation of their industry, of basically the regulations are causing the costs that are causing them to go out of business. So if they stayed here, eventually they're going to be forced out of business because they have no more money. It's no longer, they lost too much money every single year trying to make money, be profitable. That's how life works. And in the end, they fail.
How responsible is Newsom for establishing these regulations that, from the outsider looking in, as a business owner myself, not at that magnitude, of course, it just seems like it's impossible to run a business here in California.
Yeah, it really is. And so how responsible is Newsom for that? It's a two-pronged question because he didn't cause it. The environment that we have is unfortunately, we have to talk about politics, especially California, because of where we are. And unfortunately for the Democrat Party has been in control of California for 60 years. Complete control for the last 20. And every single thing that we are suffering from now is the direct result of a failed Democrat progressive policy. So what is Newsom responsible for? He was part of that process getting to his current position. He was in that process causing those regulations, that direction, that agenda to be put into place. But now he is 100% completely responsible because he has the ability and the position to fix it and chooses not to. Because in the end, it's his party's agenda that has brought us here. So is he solely responsible? No, it's the entire Democrat Party, the progressive agenda. But right now, it is 100% his fault because he has the ability to change it and refuses.
But it makes you question why he doesn't change it. Because sometimes, I'm sitting here as just a proud California resident. I'm born and raised. I love this state. But I think a lot of us are fed up with a lot of things. But it just seems like these politicians in Sacramento hate California.
They probably do, but I would say I would change that and turn it around and say, instead of what they hate, they love power and money. And their love of power and money is greater than their feelings for California and Californians.
So it's a money-driven...
Oh, yeah. It's money and power. We should all know and understand and realize that. It's money and power.
So they'll go to the extreme of damn near causing chaos in our beautiful state just to profit their pockets.
Yeah. Their short-term reward, they're not considering or even thinking of the long-term consequence.
So it seems like you're going to have your hands full once you take over.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot of things, a lot of changes that you're going to have to make.
Oh, yeah. It's in every aspect of our lives. I mean, it's easy for me to talk about public safety. Public safety is easy. That's been my life. Mm-hmm. Public safety is, we know what's breaking public safety. It's horrific public safety policy. But every industry, every facet of California has the same issues that law enforcement has. Our building industry has just as many problems. Our oil industry has just as many problems. Our small business community has just as many problems. And the bottom line common denominator is government regulation. Government regulation and horrific laws, and then the regulations that come out of them are truly what's driving the failure.
Do you think things progressively got worse after COVID in terms of small businesses and government overreach?
Yes, only because a lot of the failures of government were coming to a head and they had to try and fix them. So for instance, the government failure of COVID was the absolute, and this is, the good thing is we have hindsight. So we can look back now and say, it was absolutely wrong to shut down our state. Absolutely wrong to shut down our state. And by doing so, they shut down our economy. They shut down what keeps us moving, keeps us going. And at the time, the government gave us hundreds of billions of dollars to make up the difference. And the state, waste, fraud, and abuse, and embezzlement, and whatever it is you want to call it, the money is gone. The money didn't get used where it was supposed to. The money, it now
just vanished.
It vanished, and now it had to be paid back. Mm-hmm. You had to hold it. You had to be accountable for it, and you had to pay it back. And there was no way for the state to pay it back. And so they said, oh, I know. Let's just make businesses pay it back. So they added more costs and fees and regulations onto business to generate more money from that business to force businesses to pay back the money that the state abused. The waste, fraud, and abuse from state entities, state government, and private business is now going to pay that cost and pay it back.
Oh, man. And all these laws and regulations that they forced on landlords as well.
Yeah.
I don't think that was fair at all. Sometimes I feel like they put that pandemic on the landlords' backs too.
Yeah.
Like, well, you can't do X, Y, and Z. They don't, tenants don't have to pay, but yeah, you still got to pay your mortgage. And you got to pay your property taxes. And you got to pay X, Y, and Z.
With no money coming in.
With no money coming in. It seems like it was a direct attack at landlords.
It was. It was a direct attack on private ownership of property.
Yes.
And we have to start getting to a point where we stop trying to defend politics in the past and just use common sense and reason and say it didn't work. That doesn't even make sense. and to side with people that are not going to pay their bills and live for free and make someone else go broke because of it that had nothing to do with it, there's something inherently wrong with that. And the government made it happen. And so then you have to look at it and say, okay, so if there's not a legitimate reason for it, then two things can only be true. It was an absolutely horrific business model or idea, or it was intentional. And either one of those two things are wrong for government. That's not what government is supposed to do or how they're supposed to behave. But we lived through it.
I experienced that myself. I'm like, man, it just seemed it was so lopsided and it did not make sense.
Yeah.
Like what would have made sense was, okay, we're going to freeze rent and we're going to freeze mortgages.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And you don't have to pay property taxes until we reopen, etc. Until you start generating income.
Yes.
I think that would have been, it sounds like a great plan.
And really that's doable.
Absolutely.
If everyone does the same thing and if everyone is playing by the exact same rule for the same reason, that would have been doable. But that's not what happened.
No, and it just led me to my own conclusion that who's they? I don't know yet. But they wanted people to lose properties.
Yes, it's the people in charge of government. And then, so here's the thing that we are learning, and we don't even have to guess anymore. We don't have to make it up. We don't have to surmise. You just have to spend time in Sacramento and listen to how they talk, because they no longer talk behind closed doors. They're out in the open and they're making these brash statements and these kind of like, we used to just say, oh, it's because they're pushing socialism, and then they would say, no, we're not. We're America. This is about democracy and everything else. Socialism, no, we're not socialists. But now they're admitting they're socialists, and they call themselves the Socialist Democrats of California. There is absolutely no place in American government for socialism. And the people running our government call themselves socialists. And as Californians, as Americans, as freedom-loving people, as people that the greatest country in the history of the world, based on our freedoms, because of our freedoms, and we are allowing Socialist Democrats of America to control our government. And we wonder why private business is being pushed out. We wonder why private business has so many regulations that they can't operate and make a profit and have to sell. We wonder why our farming community of private farmers is being forced out of business. You can't farm anymore. You don't get water to farm your crops. So now you got to go out of business because you can't pay your bills. But then when you sit back and say, wait a minute, they're socialists. So now it all makes sense, because you can't have private ownership of anything, of business, of land, of anything. The government has to own everything. Or it doesn't have to necessarily be the government, just has to be a big corporation that's controlled by the government. And so when big corporation comes in and buys up every farm in California, that big corporation is beholden to government, because government can make them go away too, and they'll just get some other big corporation to manage it. So you do what you're told, and now you control everything, and now there's no private anything. Even law enforcement is the same. You can't have socialism without a state law enforcement. It has to be a law enforcement of the state. You can't have private law enforcement. You can't have each individual county having their own unique law enforcement. You can't have a city being an independent law enforcement agency. You can't have law enforcement leaders that are not beholden to one ruler, one person in charge, i.e. the governor. So they're doing everything they can to completely destroy public safety in our state, to get people so fed up with the failures of law enforcement, even though they're passing the laws that make it almost impossible for me to keep you safe. It's easy to look at the cop and say, I called the cops and they didn't do anything. They just went away. They did nothing. Well, the cops are like, well, I can't do anything. It's against the law for me to talk to that person. If it is against the law, and I don't even know if you know this, law enforcement can't have a conversation with a juvenile. It is against the law for a cop to have a conversation with a juvenile.
They have to have their parents present.
And or a lawyer before you talk to them at all. And so the problem...
In the streets?
Oh, yes.
If they're committing a crime?
Oh, yes.
I did not know that.
And so this is what is happening in the law enforcement world, and we can expand it into any industry. They want the people to believe that law enforcement is just completely incapable of keeping them safe. Your local sheriff is a failure. Your local chief of police is a failure. They aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. So here, I've got a solution. I'll come in and fix it for you. And we watched it happen. We watched it happen with the greatest, arguably the greatest city in the world at one point, San Francisco, is now a third world country. Downtown San Francisco is a third world country. And we watched in one weekend that Newsom said, San Francisco law enforcement is a failure. I'm going to be the savior, and I'm going to send the highway patrol in and clean up our city in a weekend because the Chinese president's coming. And in one weekend, they cleaned up the entire downtown San Francisco. And they made it out like local San Francisco police was not doing their job. Highway patrol had to go in and do it. But that really wasn't the reality. The San Francisco police is prevented from doing their job. But they want you to think that the residents or that local law enforcement wasn't protecting them, and the big hero ride in on the white horse and save everybody and clean up the town.
What laws did he pass that makes it damn near impossible for police officers to do their job?
So from 2014 is when this happened. So 2014 was Prop 47. Prop 47 made felonies misdemeanors. Misdemeanors infractions were not crimes anymore. It increased the level of theft to where it was a crime to that $950 threshold. And so that enabled just crime to just run rampant. It was profitable now to be a criminal, and there was no consequence. So just by doing that, and here's the thing, this is what he says. He's like, I didn't do that. That was the voters did that. That's true, because never would the voters agree to that. The voters would never agree to make all felonies misdemeanors and misdemeanors infractions and let somebody steal $1,000 with no consequence. The voters would never, ever, ever go for that. And if the legislature just passed that law, then all those people that did that, they would make sure they got voted out. So what they did is they let you pass it. And they gave you this sheet of paper and a ballot next to it with yes or no. And they said, do you want safe schools and safe streets? And you said, yes, I do. And you said yes. And that's what Prop 47 was. It was the Safe Schools and the Safe Streets initiative that our Attorney General, Kamala Harris at the time, our Secretary of State, I don't remember who the Secretary of State was, but our government officials, Newsom was one of them, one of the biggest proponents of Prop 47. They lied to us and convinced us as voters to make that a law. And the thing that happens after that is that law can never be changed unless the voters change it. The lawmakers in Sacramento can't change a law that the voters put into place. So they lied to us.
But why are they allowed to put deceiving descriptions on these laws?
Because government made their own another law that said it was okay to lie to you. They made it okay that it's okay for the government to lie to the people that elected them, that they're supposed to represent. They've made it legal for them to lie to us.
How do we read the fine print? Is there a fine print that we could read that would educate us on what's on the ballot or what a certain proposition is?
Yes, and I'll go a little bit more recent. We'll go with Prop 50.
Okay,
Prop
that's a
50
great
that
one.
we just we should have voted no on that,
Which I did.
and we voted yes. The majority of the state voted yes.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what happened. There was a lot of polling as it was going to be it was going to be on the ballot,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of polling that said 68% of the people were going to vote no. It was going to fail miserably. And so that made them change the wording in what was going to be on the ballot, change the wording that's in your ballot book that you're going to read about, and then how they were going to spend money for the messaging and commercials on what they wanted to tell you. And as soon as the ballot books were delivered to people and people got to read what Prop 50 was, the lie in the ballot book, they did another poll, and it was now 50-50. So an 18-point swing just by the lie in the ballot book. And then the messaging, they knew it was going to be close. So they said, all we have to do is make this about President Trump.
Bingo.
And so they made it, so they lied in the book. So you were tend to vote yes anyway. And then if you weren't going to vote yes, they convinced you that this was a mandatory vote against President Trump. And those people went out and voted that way, and then it was a landslide victory for Prop 50. So there was plenty of information out there, but that's not what was given to us by the government, which as good people, you would hope that your government is going to tell you the truth. That what you get, when they claim that they're non-biased or that they're non-political, and this is an honest opinion of what's going to happen, you think you should be able to trust that, but you can't.
Do you want to sell your house because it's too big or too small? Go ahead, send us a message at 323-352-7946, and let's discuss what the best option is for you. Now let's get back to the episode, baby. And I've seen every commercial on that Prop 50. Mm-hmm. And I've seen the trigger word was Trump. So I could see what you were saying.
Yeah.
So they just flipped it and made it about Trump, and it triggered people's emotions.
Yeah. So that's the key. So a long time ago, decades and decades ago, this is psychological warfare. They learned even like they would in the 30s and the 40s, they would drop pamphlets out of the air. Out of planes, and people would read them, and it was the intent was what they're reading was to scare them. And the reason why is because when you're afraid, it is impossible for us as human beings. When we are afraid, it's impossible for us to be rational. You don't think rationally. You don't think with reason. You don't use common sense, because fear overrides that. So you're easily manipulated out of fear. And that's it's the fight and flight response. When you're afraid, that's why sheep will all run off the cliff, because they're not thinking, hey, where's my friends going every time? Why are they disappearing? And then they jump off the cliff with them. I mean, it's not really why sheep do that, but it's the same thing. You're not thinking rationally. So they absolutely have to make sure that we are afraid. This complete political garbage about threat to democracy and all of that destroy the country and he's evil, and you have to get people thinking irrationally with anger or with fear or any of those emotional responses, because in the emotion, you can't think rational and you can't say, wait a minute. So back to Prop 50. You're all worked up about President Trump. I hate President Trump. I do all these things. I've got to stand up to him. I got to say MAGA. I got to do this. And I'm voting yes. I'm voting yes because we're going to stick it to Trump and all of those things, because you're in an emotional part. So you're not thinking about the consequence. So the reality is 60% of the people in the emotion of looking at that vote voted against President Trump and voted yes. But then when they're no longer afraid because they did their vote, and you ask them whether or not it's a good idea to put districting in the hands of politicians, 95% of them said no. No, we can't let politicians draw up the maps. It has to be an independent system draw up the maps. Mm-hmm. And then 65% of those people voted to give it to the politicians, the corrupt politicians, to draw up the maps. That's where you know that it doesn't make sense. There's no rhyme or reason there. There's no common sense there, because it was based on emotion.
How does Prop 50 affect us moving forward?
So right now it affects us. It doesn't affect California in general, except that we now no longer have any representation in California or in the federal government for California. We have 100%, nearly, it's 96%, or the potential after these elections is how they designed it is theoretically it's going to be 96% Democrat representation in California or in Washington D.C. for California, when the reality is the majority of the state is conservative Republican. Mm-hmm. The majority of the population is Democrat, but 40 to 50%, somewhere in the 40s, are not. So is there equal representation of California in Washington? Absolutely not. The farming community, which historically the rural areas, the hardworking rural blue collar places in California are very conservative Republicans, and now they no longer have a voice in Washington D.C. because this political gerrymandering gave all of those rural voices to the metropolitan areas. That your representative for all of our farming community is coming from metropolitan areas that have no idea what farming even is. There are people in Sacramento, staffers in Sacramento, even some legislators in Sacramento that have no idea where food comes from. They think food comes from the grocery store. They have no idea how it's made, where it's made, how it comes to pass. But they're making regulations that are harming it, making it impossible for our farmers to farm. And that's what we're suffering from. And we're going to suffer till 1930, probably 1932, the election of 1932, because in 2032, because in 2030 will be the next census. And then that census will come up with new populations. And then the independent group will go back to drawing those lines again after 2030. So for the 2026 election, the 2028 election, and the 2030 election, these dirty, dishonest maps will all be in play.
So farming is going to be obsolete right here in California.
If the current government has its way, if we elect another Democrat governor, farming could be obsolete in California before the end of the next 2 terms. Before that next governor is gone, farming could be obsolete. And I mean, I don't want to make this about me, but it really is going to be me. The Democrats know I'm the front runner. The Republicans know I'm the front runner on the Republican side. Democrats are worried about me winning. And so everyone knows that I'm the threat in this election. So that's why I use me when I say this. Mm-hmm. If I'm not elected, we're seeing what could be the absolute downfall of California. They're already saying, there was a great article that just came out that basically has said that Newsom has made it almost impossible for the next governor to even manage California. The things that he has done, the things that he has put in place with out of control spending, out of control regulation, excessive regulation, is going to make it almost impossible for the next governor.
So you're going to have a...
If I don't win and the same policies stay in play and we don't do a 180-degree reversal on some of these, on the majority of the regulations that are harming California, get rid of some of the taxes, at least lower, if not get rid of the taxes, the regulation, and the agenda that is moving with law enforcement, the high likelihood that there's no turning back for California and that we just fail. If we continue with a Democrat governor, with a Democrat liberal agenda, we'll go bankrupt. The fourth greatest economy in the world will go bankrupt. I mean, they're saying $17 billion in debt. But supposedly the real number, when it really comes out by June, it's going to be more like $35 billion in debt. That's not manageable. And then they're saying that in years to come, because of what Newsom has put into play, it's going to be worse and worse and worse. So we have to have a massive restructuring of our California government if we're going to survive.
Talking about billions of dollars. So if we're in a deficit, where are the $24 billion that are unaccounted for? And they seem to vanish.
It's in someone's hands. Someone has that. Someone is making a lot of money off of that money. So that money just doesn't vanish into thin air. It goes into someone else's bank account. And it gets spent. And it gets used to purchase things. It gets used to fund things. It gets used to for people's incomes. And it's become very obvious now that it's not being used what it's supposed to be used for.
How do we track it? Because for some reason it can't be found. Like, is there a way we could track this and hold people accountable?
Yeah.
Pretty much embezzlement, fraud. There's some serious stuff going on.
And the problem is, here's another reason, I'll say it for me. Who better to throw into a corrupt form of government than the guy with the gun, the badge, and the handcuffs? Because somebody needs to be held accountable. And you're not going to change behavior. You're not going to change the way government is operating right now until someone's held accountable. And as soon as one person is held accountable, everybody else is going to stand back and say, oh, I guess we can't do that anymore. They're being serious. And that's what has to happen. Because if I told you, you think of how much money you make last year. If I went and asked you, and we'll say Joe Californian made $100,000. If I went to Joe Californian and I said, tell me where $25,000 is, Joe Californian is going to tell me where his last cent went. Mm-hmm. He will be able to tell me where every single penny of his $100,000 went. 10% is $25,000 or 10,000 of that $100,000 that he makes. So the $25 billion is a little bit less than 10% of California government. How do they not know where that is? How do you miss 10% of your income and not be able to say where you spent it? It's impossible. It's impossible. They know exactly where that money went. They know exactly who it went to, and they know how it's set up. They know how the system is set up. And we have to start realizing that what we are seeing in the federal government and learning about what the federal government is doing, California is doing it far worse because it's one-party rule here and there's no one holding them accountable. So what we know is that $25 billion went to, not all, but the majority, illegitimate nonprofits and NGOs, non-government organizations. And that money was taken by those people, given to others as salary, as benefits, all of these things. Property was bought, cars were bought, trucks were bought, homes were bought, trips were bought, all of these things with that money. The only thing that wasn't purchased with that money is help for the homeless. They didn't help anybody, but all of the money has been spent. And now we know that a little portion of that money goes back into the campaign funds of the people that are giving that money in the first place. So it's a big continuous cycle of taking your taxpayer money, laundering it through the NGOs, and coming back to them in their campaigns to make sure they get elected again.
How do you stop that from happening?
Accountability in government. You say it's not going to happen. So as the governor, I control the budget. I control where that money goes. I control how much money gets spent there. And absolutely no money is going to be given to these NGOs and these nonprofits that can't show me a record of how many people you helped, because the majority of them have helped no one. So why are they getting millions and millions and millions of dollars a year and not helping anyone? I mean, there's famous stories in downtown LA of buildings that have been bought with this money that somebody made a boatload of money off of it, and they're empty. They aren't housing homeless. They aren't helping homeless. They aren't doing anything. But somebody made a whole lot of money. So here's how it works. You've got a building that you can't sell, and it's worth $3 million. Mm-hmm. And I have my nonprofit for the homeless, and I just got $10 million. So I'll tell you what, you have your $3 million business, your $3 million building. I'll give you $6 million for it. And now you make all of that money off of that building that you couldn't sell to begin with. And I'm not out any money because I was given $10 million to buy a building to help the homeless. So I still have all my money. I still have $4 million left, and I have a building that I can sell too. And my best friend just made $6 million on a building that he couldn't sell. That's how it's working. That's how it's that simple. That's how the money is being laundered. And then you can have a nonprofit. You get a couple of $1 million in your nonprofit, and you can make $750,000 as a salary of the person that's running that nonprofit. And then while you're at it, go ahead and give your wife a $500,000 salary. And while you're at it, you got 3 kids, give them $500,000 salaries.
All this could be tracked.
Yes.
They just
it can be tracked. They choose not
to track it.
Choose not to. They choose not
That's
to.
That's just
insane. We are going to make sure this gets out. But the auditor of California, the auditor's office of California, just came out with a scathing report that said the governor's office and 9 other California departments are labeled as high risk. And the only way you get to be high risk is with waste, fraud, abuse, and lack of oversight. That's how you get to be that. And a California entity, California government just said that about California government. About the governor's office, about the Employment Development Agency, about WIC, about all of these things that government is spending all of our money. They're all fraudulent. They are all waste, fraud, and abuse. They're all ripe with rape with waste, fraud, and abuse.
With no accountability.
With no accountability. That's our own government. I don't know.
It seems like being a politician right now. It's like,
yeah.
Like that's where the money's at, right?
We're in a very, very bad spot in California. And we just have to realize we did it to ourselves. And one of my favorite quotes of one of our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, and he said, "The government that you elect is the government that you deserve." So the people that you put in power, the people that you put in these positions to run our government, if you're not spending the time and effort to put people in there with character, integrity, honesty, your values, leadership ability, then why would you expect them to have that when they get there? If you're electing somebody because you like their last name, or because they have a D after their name, or a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, it doesn't matter. But if that's what you vote off of, then you deserve what we have right now. You deserve the fraud, the waste, the abuse of your taxpayer money because it was you that did it. And that's extreme. I don't want to say we're lazy. We're a little bit apathetic. Mm-hmm. We don't pay attention to who we're voting for. We don't look into who we're voting for. We listen to a commercial and it's like, oh, I like that person, so we vote for them. I say all the time, in the California Democrat Party, they vote Democrat. We know that. You're told from the time you register, you have to vote Democrat. And what we realize now that because of that, if Charles Manson was on the ballot for governor, registered as a Democrat, and he was the only person there, Charles Manson would be elected as governor in California because no one's paying attention to who they're voting for. They don't look into it. It's just a Democrat. But now at the same time, now we have to realize coming into this election, you can't vote for a Democrat for governor. I want you to not even vote for a Democrat for any of the other positions that you're voting for, because we know for the last 20 years, minimum of 20 years, the Democrats have been in complete control of everything. Everything that you think of that's bad here in California is because of Democrat policy, the Democrat agenda, and they've all voted for it. Why would you think they're going to vote for something different? This is their agenda. You absolutely must vote for a Republican in this election if you want anything to change. That's how it's going to happen. I have to be in that office so I can hold the Democrat legislature accountable, so I can hold them accountable for where this money's going. As the governor, I'll be accountable for coming up with the budget, and then I will be held accountable. I will hold them accountable for what they do to my budget when I give it to them. I will hold the other offices accountable, the controller, the finance department of California, those people that are in those positions of power, I will hold them accountable to make sure that they're doing the right thing. That's how it's going to work. That's how government is supposed to work, with the three entities of government all holding each other accountable, so we're all doing the right thing by all of us. That's what has to happen, and we haven't had that in California for a long time. So we absolutely must vote for me in this election. You may not like me. You may not like some of the things that people have said that probably aren't true anyway, but you have to realize that I'm going to be the only one representing a different path, a path of fixing the things that we know are wrong. And it really is. It's going to be common sense. You have to know that we've got to stop what is it, Einstein or somebody that said, doing something over and over, do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're doing. We're electing the same people over and over and over, and we think it's going to be a different result. All of the people that are on the Democrat side running against me right now are the same people that put us in this position in the first place. So if we voted for them over and over and over, and this is what they gave us, why would you give them the opportunity to do it again? Just because they're promising you that if you vote for me this time, I promise I'll fix it. We can't fall for that. We can't do that again. We've got to vote for a better option, for a different option, to make sure that everybody is being held accountable.
Absolutely. So once we do give you our vote, how would you prevent a Palisades fire from happening?
That's actually easy. That is very easy. The reason why that happened is because for years, for decades, our fire agencies have been prevented from clearing our hills from brush. They've been prevented of providing a barrier between the natural disaster and civilization. And when I say that barrier, it's not a legitimate barrier. It's a barrier. It's a place. It's an area that is defensible. So when the fire reaches that area, now it's defensible because it has less fuel. The fire slows down. Mm-hmm. The fire gets less intense, and now you can fight that fire. That's what our fire agencies have wanted to do for decades. But it is our state government and the policy and the agenda of state government that has not allowed that to happen. So for me, the regulations that prevent that signed away on day one. That's the beauty of our government. And I tell people this all the time. It's going to be hard getting me elected. It's going to be easy to fix California because the majority of what's harming us is regulatory in nature. It's a regulatory process, a regulation that is preventing us from doing something, forcing us to do something, making us pay extra money for something, all of those things. And they can all be signed away with the stroke of a pen. They're not laws. They weren't put in place by laws. They were put in place by regulatory boards that are appointed by politicians, and the governor has the power to take them away.
So you could repeal a lot of the stuff that's
absolutely
wrong.
Yes, absolutely. Like for instance, our building industry. Mm-hmm. We saw the Palisades burn down. The Palisades residents, a lot of them had a lot of money, mm-hmm. and they had enough money to clean up their property and build a new house. And they quickly realized that government regulation was going to stop that from happening. They were told that you're not going to build your house for 5 to 10 years because of the government red tape, the bureaucracy, and the regulations mm-hmm. that are preventing it from happening. And there was an uproar. And so what did our governor do? He went in and he signed away the regulations. He suspended CEQA, which is the California Environmental Quality Act, and which is basically the federal EPA on steroids. And then the Coastal Commission, which regulates pretty much everything that has anything to do with California because we have a coastline. And he suspended those two agencies, those two.
To allow people to build.
Yes. Stroke of a pen, those regulations, that regulatory board was removed, but just for the Palisades. And for me, I'm like, well, that's great. He should have done that. But why not for us? Why not for the rest of us in this state that are suffering from the same regulations and the same over-regulation? Make it okay for us to build a home. Make it okay for us to expand our business or build onto our house or make our business bigger. Take away our regulations. But he didn't do it. He wouldn't do it because they don't want you to be successful. They want control over you. But this was a political nightmare because this was a lot of Democrat funding, a lot of Democrats that mm-hmm. were harmed, and he had to appease them.
I bet you he won't stop those reassessments from those properties.
Oh, no.
That's not going to happen.
Oh, no.
That's billions of dollars for California.
Billions. That's why, if you go back when this was happening, and it was, I'm telling you, I don't want to be a violent person, but I wish the cameraman would have punched him in the face. Because when Newsom was on camera and the picture in the back, you could see the glow of the fire and the smoke and everything else. And he was excited. He was excited that the Palisades burned down. And it was when he was doing his little jig and he was saying, he was saying LA 2.0. We're going to build back LA 2.0, how we want. Man. And he was excited that they lost their money. Why was he excited? Because all of those people lost private ownership of their property. It's going to be possible for big business, for government to come in and say, oh, we'll take it and we'll do it. And now they're telling you how you can rebuild. You can't rebuild your house. You have to build an apartment building. You have to build an apartment complex.
Which proposition did he pass allowing entities to buy multiple parcels of burn?
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
I forgot which one. But yeah. So that means that any entity could just come and be like, hey, I want that one, and that one. Let's work out a deal, and I'll buy all 5, and I'll build some high rises here.
Yeah,
and make them low income.
That's what the plan is. The plan was to take away all the private ownership and then make a 15-minute city. I mean, this is there. This is in Sacramento. This is the progressive left agenda that we can't have our own homes. We can't live out in the country. We have to have 15-minute cities where you walk everywhere you go. And you live, everybody lives together. You walk to work. You walk to the grocery store. You walk to wherever it is you want to exercise. Whatever it is you want to do is within a 15-minute city. That's their idea. That's the socialist idea of government controlling everything. And it took the Palisades to make that happen.
It sucks.
Excuse me.
I just
So back to the fire. That's going to be easy. I just take away those regulations. We make sure we manage our forests.
okay. So right before the fires, State Farm and a lot of the insurance companies pulled out of California.
Yeah. So
Now and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are this is happening to them where we can't get fire insurance here in California.
yeah.
And now they're price gouging.
Yes. So I got to correct you. It's not price gouging.
Oh, it's not price gouging, but
They can charge whatever they want. So
Yes.
it's technically price gouging. So let me tell you how it works. So let me tell you what happened.
it's not. Oh, that's a great point.
For SB 549, was that the one?
SB 549 was the one I was talking about earlier,
Okay.
where they could just come and buy multiple parcels, and they could just be like, "Hey, you know what? Low income right here, boom, prime
Yeah.
real estate, Palisades."
And then they also passed laws that force you to build high density, low income housing. And the Palisades were not high density or low income. So now they're getting all of the high density or the low density, high income. All of those that was their goal. Get rid of all those and then move to the government model. So that's bad. So
That's wild.
yeah, so the insurance companies for the last 4 or 5 years have been telling Governor Newsom, nobody else, Governor Newsom, if you don't change these horrific policies and these horrific regulations, we're going to have to pull out of California. We cannot insure Californians because there is going to be a massive, massive, massive disaster that we can't cover caused by these regulations. And if you don't do something about it, you're going to lose us. We're going to have to go. And he just kept calling their bluff, saying, "No, this is my agenda. We're going to do this. We're staying the course. You're not going anywhere. You want the money." And they said, "No, we actually don't." And they pulled out and left. They're not going to come back until the regulations are gone. You electing me is going to be the only way we get those regulations gone, because the other people running are not going to do it. The other people running put those regulations in place. We have to take away those regulations that allow our fire departments to put in that barrier, that to be able to have a defensible zone around our homes and our communities. And then when all of that happens, when the insurance companies know that 10,000 homes are not going to burn down at $400 billion, $500 billion, an insurance company can't make that up with premiums. I mean, it's easy to see how much premiums are generated every year from insurance. You take the number of homes times by maybe $1,000, $1,500 average for that may even be a little bit more for a homeowner's policy, but that's a fraction of the $500 billion of devastation. They can't cover that. So when they know you're not going to lose that much money, when they know that a home may burn down, that's why you have insurance. They can cover that. They can cover that loss. Yeah. They'll eventually come back because there's 40 million people here. There's a lot of business in California that has to happen, but they're not going to come back until the regulations are removed. So I remove the regulations, and then I'll use maybe a little bit of bully tactics on them and say, look, you're State Farm, you're still offering vehicle insurance. So if you're going to offer vehicle insurance in California, you're going to have to offer your home insurance policy too. And there's going to have to be this give and take and this trust little issue, knowing that I'm not going to change anything for a minimum of 8 years. The regulations are not going to be put back in place. We're going to keep our residents safe, but we need you to come in and insure our residents. They'll do it. It's going to take a year or two before they're comfortable and come back in and say, okay, we see that they're all gone and we see that the fire department is actually doing these things to make sure this doesn't happen again. They'll come back.
Can you cap them? Just like how they cap us? Like a rent control before insurance companies.
And here's the thing, talking about the gouging and everything else. If there's only one company, or now there's two, you can have the Fair Plan and maybe one other one to choose from. There's only 2 companies doing it, and they've got to account for all of that loss. What are the chances of them being responsible for a loss? If they're the only company, 100%. They're the only one going to be accountable for that loss. So they're going to have to charge us all enough to make sure that they have enough money to cover that loss. That's why your insurance, I mean, say you had State Farm.
Which I did, and they canceled me.
Okay, well, so I'll say insurance A.
Okay.
So you have insurance A, and you've had insurance A for 10 years. And now insurance B, C, D, E, F, and G all left. So now there's only insurance A. So insurance A says, holy crap, I have to raise your rates because now I'm going to be responsible for all of these people losing their property.
Okay.
So as soon as we bring all of the insurance companies back, now they're all going to be competing for our business, which lowers the cost of not only your rates, but it lowers their chance of loss.
That makes sense on my 87% increase.
Yeah. It's horrible.
Now that...
Yeah. Okay. I can't get insurance where I'm at, and I'm nowhere near a fire zone. I mean, it went off a zip code. That zip code's huge, and I'm nowhere near mountains. I'm nowhere near open areas, and they said because of the fire zone, I can't get insurance. It's like that is there. It is broken. California, that is broken.
So the day you go into office, you're going to fix all that.
Yes, the day I go into the first couple of days in office is going to be nothing but signing away regulations. I will sign away the regulations, the CEQAs, the California Coastal Commissions, the other environmentalist, activist imposed regulations that prevent us from building, prevent us from expanding, prevent us from really progress. It's on purpose and it's by regulation, and those have to be removed. The regulations that prevent us from drilling oil, the regulations that prevent us from building another refinery or for repairing a refinery that breaks, can't repair it, it's too expensive now, so they just close and leave.
What regulations were set in place for Valero to leave?
It's so like a refinery. This is in simplest terms. A refinery is just a piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
If a bolt breaks on the piece of equipment, the regulations that are in place are you can't just replace that bolt. You have to replace the entire motor.
Okay.
And then you can't replace that entire motor because that's not up to current standards. So now you have to replace the whole section of your refinery. And it just goes on and on and on. So eventually you cannot do repairs. You have to do all new everything and upgrade to current standards because of current regulations or current rules in place. So it gets to the point where we can't do that anymore. We can't upgrade everything to a standard that's really just an arbitrary standard for you to get more money. So we just got to pull the plug.
Okay.
We can't. So what Newsom wants you to believe, what the Democrats want you to believe, is that it's Valero that's making all this money. Well, yeah, they make money, but they make money for a lot of people. Their profit margin is not that great. We have to realize that's how the world works, is we have businesses that make money. If the business isn't making money, they're no longer in business, and everybody working for them loses. Mm-hmm. I mean, the business has to make money to pay all of us that work for the business. That's how it works. So they want you to believe that they're gouging you. They're making all these hundreds of billions of dollars, which just simply isn't true. Their profit margin for a refinery is small. So if the repairs are taking up that profit margin, it can't be done. So if the upgrades and the updates for current regulation are so expensive that now the profit margin is gone, that refinery is not profitable, it's more profitable to close it and just bring the gasoline from somewhere else, then that's what they're going to do because they have to save whatever profit margin they can to stay in business. That is just the nature of business. Mm. Nobody's gouging. Nobody's making more money than what they should or could, because everything's driven by the market anyway. Valero's still competing with Chevron. Chevron's still competing with Exxon. Exxon's still competing with BP. They're all competing, and when they all compete, that's how the prices stay down. If we're drilling oil, if we're drilling our own oil, that's how the prices stay down, because we don't buy oil from the Middle East and then have it shipped over here. So we drill our own oil, process our own oil here. Now we're not bringing it in on trucks and boats and everything else. It's cheaper. That's how you keep it cheap. That's how you lower the cost. And then when they're all doing it, do you want to buy Chevron or do you want to buy Exxon? Well, if Chevron is 10 cents more a gallon for gas, you're going to buy Exxon. So Chevron lowers but Exxon, that's how the world goes round. And that's what we have to get back to. Regulations get removed from that.
How much more do you think we're going to have, as Californians, we're going to have to pay more in gas? You think gas prices are going to...
Oh, yeah. They're going to skyrocket.
Like,
so our own government study groups and independent Berkeley, UCLA, USC's economists are saying that because of what's happening right now with Valero, Exxon, with all of them leaving, with shutting down refineries, shutting down pumping, all of those things, that we will see the likelihood of us seeing $8 gas by the end of 2026 is almost a guarantee. You have 20% of our gasoline supply that was taken away with them leaving because of what Newsom did. And so here's where we're at. And I wish the news media, I wish reporters actually cared about reporting. I wish the news media was actually independent, that told us exactly what was happening so we knew, so we could make rational decisions of who to vote for. But the media lies to us. They prevent us from learning the truth. They lie to us about what's happening, and it's horrific.
I'm sure you're enjoying this dope-ass episode. I mean, you made it this far, so you might as well hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. Now, let's get back to the episode, baby.
For a cop, I mean, my entire existence in law enforcement is about honesty. The only way I lose my job like that is to tell a lie. Any lie. If I tell a lie and it's proven, you can prove I told you a lie, I instantly lose my job and I cannot be a cop anywhere else.
Yeah.
How great would that be if the news media was the same way? How great would it be if politicians were the same way?
Had the same integrity.
Absolutely. So that's where the appeal for me moving forward is. My entire adult life is about being honest and telling the truth every single day. And that's all I'm going to do. In this campaign, you can be guaranteed. I'm not saying that if someone is saying something different than I am, you can be rest assured that I am the only one that is mandated to be telling you the truth. Because just because it's politics doesn't matter, because the nature of my business is once I'm a liar, I'm a liar. Once I have proven that I'm a liar, I can't have another court case. I can never arrest another person. I can never write a police report on another person.
That's factual.
I can't testify in court because they'll just impeach me because I'm a proven liar. So I lose my job. This entire campaign is about me telling the truth of California and about how we're going to fix California. So the oil industry is easy. We let them drill oil. We let them, we instead of buying our oil from everywhere else, we drill our own oil. California has more oil than any state in the country. By far. By far. Alaska is in our country, but it's outside our country. They have more oil. Otherwise, we have more. Kern County alone has more oil than Texas.
Why are we not drilling?
Regulation. So the answer is regulation. Environmentalist activists are preventing that from happening. And the government's appeasal of activism, which my guess, why would you want to do that? Why would you harm entire California? There's got to be something else. Is it because you're making money? Is it because you're making money on the side? Is it because somebody's giving you something behind closed doors? A little envelope, a little cash envelope in the mail, you know,
A little
in your briefcase.
a little transfer for a couple $1 billion.
Yeah. So we let our oil industry drill oil again. We give them the permits. And see, that's what's happening right now is the Democrats right now are panicked because you have Nevada and Arizona who are livid because now we're going to destroy their economies because they get our gas from our refineries. And now we shut our refineries down. Our refineries are leaving. There's no, the refineries don't ship oil. The pipelines don't go from Texas this way. They go from California to Arizona and Nevada. And the Democrat Arizona governor and the Republican Nevada governor wrote a letter to Newsom saying, you need to stop these horrific policies and these regulations, and you need to get a hold of you need to let your refineries refine gas because you're going to harm our states. And now it's happened.
Oh, it's happening.
Yeah. So we will let the refineries drill oil, or the oil companies drill oil. Our refineries, we will allow Exxon, we will allow Valero to build more refineries. We will take those regulations away that prevent it from happening. We will not only drill our own oil, we will process our own oil. We'll have the cheapest gasoline in the state. And here's the thing. We mentioned this off camera a little bit. We're going to talk about taxes in California. We're the highest income tax in the entire country. Mm-hmm. That's where government gets its revenue. California, that's why California is so volatile in its budgets. Why we have how can you have a $70 billion surplus and then the next year a $30 billion deficit? I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense
well,
at all.
It's because California is the only state in the country that is 100% reliant on income tax. And so when you're driving all your businesses out of state, taking all of their workers, you no longer have income. And so you're not getting income tax. And so you don't have the revenue that you thought you were getting. So here's the thing. Other states do this and they make money. This is the cost of doing business. If the oil company drills oil from California and brings a gallon of oil out of the ground, they pay a fee per gallon of oil that comes out of the ground to the state. Cost of doing business. It's like that in every state. Mm-hmm. Texas, Alaska, North Dakota, South Dakota, Colorado. It's all the same. We import 80% of our oil. Those imports pay nothing to the state. So there is no benefit for the state to import oil. None. No financial benefit at all. Mm-hmm. It's actually a detriment for all of the environmentalists because the carbon footprint, the carbon disaster of drilling and pumping oil from other countries that don't have our regulations, then transporting it halfway across the world in ships burning diesel fuel that are just dirty and everything else. It's 10 times, 100 times worse than if we did it ourselves here. So we will be oil independent. We will drill 100% of our oil that we use in California. By doing so, the money generated from drilling our own oil fully funds state government. There's now no longer a need for state income tax. So now we have an absolute guaranteed income because we know how much oil we use every single year. We've used the same amount every single year. We know how much we're going to use. We know how much it's going to fluctuate a tiny bit or a little bit. And we can also drill more oil and sell to other people. So we know we can control how much oil we drill. And that means we can control every single year the revenue that we have. And it's guaranteed. There's no need to wonder whether or not somebody left the state and we're not going to get that income tax because we're not reliant on income tax. We're getting oil revenue. And here's the thing. For all of you people that like electric cars, that's great. You can have your electric car. Eventually, we will have other cars that are not electric engines. They will be a hydrogen engine, or they may even be a nuclear engine eventually. It's not going to be electric. Electric is cool now. And electric's possible now because you can still charge it with other electricity. A diesel powered generator can charge your electric car. That's why it's okay. But the government doesn't get to tell us when that happens. Ingenuity tells us when that happens. Invention, technology, and eventually there will be something different, and that's okay. But until then, we're going to utilize every single resource that we have to make sure that we are taken care of here, that we provide our enough fuel, that we keep the cost low. And then here's another thing with oil. If the price of gas was lower like the rest of the country, then the cost of living would be the same as the rest of the country. If our cost of gasoline was the same as Texas, the cost of living would be the same as in Texas. Because everything about our economy revolves around transportation. Transportation is completely controlled by gasoline because you have to pay to gas to transport everything. So when everything is more expensive to move around, obviously we're going to pay more for it. So you take away half of the price of gas, now you've lowered almost half. It wouldn't work out this way, but close. Theoretically, on paper it won't be, but theoretically you can lower the cost of living here by half just by reducing the cost of gas by half. It's $2.30 for a gallon of gas in Texas. Why are we $5?
I've seen it as low as $1.99
in other places.
Yeah.
And we're at $5. I paid over $5 the other day. I filled my truck over the weekend.
Gas this morning. Yeah, and I don't even know how much I paid.
Yeah,
but it's like a lot.
There are so many things that can be fixed in California with just the right person there to do it. And here's the thing. This is my history. 32 years. I've been doing my job for 32 years. Law enforcement, 32 years. Sheriff for 7. It'll be 8 by the time you vote for me. My entire adulthood has been making sure that everybody else's life is better. I come to work every single day, put on a badge, a gun, a vest, and I go out to make everybody else's life better. I answer 911 calls. It's an emergency. I go fix the emergency, and I move on to the next emergency. That's just the nature of the business. And that's all I'm going to do for California. I'm not doing it to make my life better because I'm going to take a huge pay cut. I'm going to uproot my family. I'm going to have to, my wife and I, more than likely, I'll either have to commute every day or I'll have to move to Sacramento. My family is here. That means I'm away from our grandkids and my wife's away from the grandkids. Our life is going to be upended. So this is not a benefit to me. I'm doing this because I know I can make California's lives better. I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for Democrats. I'm not doing this for Republicans. I'm not going to wake up after the election day, winning this election, and jump up and down and say, look, Republicans, what I did for us. It isn't about that. I'm doing this for Californians. Political parties are destroying the state.
I agree.
Government needs to start worrying about Californians. And with me as your governor, that's all I'm doing. I will do everything in my power for 8 years because 4 years will be good.
Reelected.
I'll get reelected for a second
that.
term. And it's going to be every single day to make sure that California government is working to make our lives better instead of us working every single day to make California government bigger. That's not how we were designed for success. That's not what the Constitution says. That's not how government was formed for a free America. And we have to get back to what it is, what it's supposed to be.
How do you get since 2020 up to 2025, there has been 1.4 million people leave California, and tons of businesses have left.
Yeah.
How do you get these people back?
So I've spoken to business owners who have left, that have moved their businesses elsewhere. And I've spoken to just regular Californian workers, just Californians that have gone to other states to try and find a place that's easier, better quality of life to live. No one says that they left because they didn't like California. They love California. No business says, I wanted to leave California. No one wants to leave California. They are forced to leave California. For whatever reason, they were forced. The business couldn't survive. The business wanted to make more money, be more profitable. They wanted a benefit for their company, so they moved to another state. Workers were going for a lower cost of living, better jobs, better schools for their kids, whatever the case may be. But that's what they went there for. So It is not, you don't have to go to school to learn that if you want to bring them back, just eliminate what caused them to leave. So every single business is leaving because of business regulations and taxes. Over-regulation for businesses and taxes, business taxes. Take them away. Lower their taxes. Take away their regulations. I believe there should be regulations. We don't want, if you go look at homes in Tijuana, on the hillsides in Tijuana, there's no building regulations there. I wouldn't live in some of those homes. They look like they're going to cave in. Oh, yeah. So we have to have regulations. But why are we punished in California with more regulations just because we live in California that no other state has? It doesn't make any sense. We can't have it. The federal government has all kinds of regulations, all kinds of environmental regulations, business regulations, company regulations. That's good enough. It's working out well for the rest of the country. That's all we need. I can't take away federal regulations, but I can take away the excessive state ones. And now those businesses come back because they wanted to be in California anyway. So now you take away what drove them away, they can come back. Or even other businesses in other states are like, hey, look at California. That's business friendly. We can be more profitable if we moved our business to California. Now they move their business to California. That brings more jobs to California. Mm-hmm. Now when more companies are competing for workers, that naturally raises the income level because they have to pay more to get the workers because everybody's competing for the same workers. And then you stimulate your economy how it's supposed to be stimulated. You bring in more business, you bring in more produce, you bring in more, I didn't mean to say produce, you bring in more product, you bring in more people, you bring in more business, and all of a sudden everything gets stimulated how it's supposed to. We're not taxing everybody. I believe you can spend your money better than government can. I absolutely know that for a fact. And so when we give you your money, and here's the whole thing. Say I lower your tax, I take away your state income taxes, and say just for the sake of argument, that's an extra $1,000 in your pocket every check, every paycheck we'll say a month. Every month you get an extra $1,000 in your bank account. What are you gonna do with that?
I'm gonna go ahead and spend it or reinvest it.
You are.
Yeah.
You're going to buy something or invest in something or that stimulates the economy again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can, even if you save 200 of it and you invest 200 of it, you're going to spend 800 of it. Mm-hmm. You're going to buy clothes. You're going to buy trips. You're going to go out to dinner. You're going to do something that stimulates the economy. That's how it works. And we're just going to make it easier for business to be business in California. And that's going to make it cheaper for everybody else. The no income tax is going to be huge. There's not going to be an income tax in California. We'll get our money from generating oil. And in 50 years, 80 years, 100 years, when we no longer need oil, because we got to be realistic. We need oil. The world runs on oil right now. And it's going to for decades into the future. It's not going to be electrical. Electric cars, we know, are a novelty right now. They're a good concept, but we can't all have electric cars. We can't even keep our electric on in our house. They turn our electric off constantly. It's like, oh yeah, buy all your electric cars. And then they say, hey, you can't charge today because we have no electricity. Everything is broken. Everything has been regulated out of California. Our power industry, our power grid has to be nuclear. We are going to a nuclear power grid. We will have nuclear supplying our power in California. It's more economical. It's more reliable. It's more environmental friendly. Everything that we should be looking for is nuclear. Other countries are utilizing it well. And that was the natural progression, but California shut it down. California shut it down because somebody's making a lot of money to not let it happen.
Yeah. It's usually the way it goes in California.
Yeah.
So what makes sense, we're going to just bypass that, even though it makes absolute sense. And we're going to go this way because we're going to get this on the back end.
And I got to tell you, it's not rocket science. It's common sense. Yeah. Common sense left California a long time ago. And for me, I think that's what my appeal is. That's why I'm number one in the polls. That's why I have the largest voter base by double of my nearest opponent. And that happens to be a Democrat. Everybody, the Republicans are way behind as far as donor base. That's why, that's the appeal coming to me, is that we absolutely know where he stands. We know his level of integrity. We know his leadership ability. We already know all of these things about him. He's already in government. We know that he doesn't spend more than he has. We know that he's saving money. We know he's doing everything to benefit us in the law enforcement realm. Why would he not do that in any other realm? It's common sense. It tells you that my ability, my leadership ability, and common sense ability of putting the right people in the right places to do the right thing, I have a history of that. And that's all we're going to do is replicate it in California government. And it's easy. It's what are the things that are concerning the vast majority of us? Public safety, number one. The economy is maybe number two and maybe tied. Infrastructure with electricity, natural gas for our homes, water for our houses, for our farming, for all of that stuff. Roadways, the infrastructure is number three. Education is number four. That's my platform. We are going to make crime a crime again. We're going to hold people accountable for victimizing us. We're going to give the fire department the tools and the less regulations they need to keep us safe from natural disaster. The infrastructure, we're going to move toward nuclear. We are going to hold SCE, PG&E, and San Diego Electric accountable for giving us the power, not by getting rich, because that's another entity that you have a public entity. Power is the government's responsibility. And we've regulated that to a private industry, but yet we raise our rates so private industry can make more money for shareholders. There's something very, very wrong with that system. Very wrong. There was a bill last year, Gallagher tried to get it through. It was going to automatically lower our electric rates 30%. Every Californian would get a 30% reduction in your utility rates. It didn't even make it out of committee. Not even a chance. Didn't even make it out of committee. If last year we all would have had a 30% reduction in our electric rate, SCE and PG&E would have still made a $3.8 billion profit. That's with us getting a 30% reduction. That's how screwed up California government is, how it doesn't care about Californians. So we take care of that. We take care of the infrastructure. We take care of the roadways. We start fixing our roads. We start building more roads. We start doing the things that government's supposed to be responsible for. We start drilling our own oil. We become oil independent. We take away all the regulations that are preventing home builders from building your homes. That's why we don't have homes. It's too expensive to build homes because of regulation. So I sign those away. We allow home builders to build homes. Now you can afford the houses that they built. Common sense. Education. We move into the education system where California at one point in history was the number one in the country in education, and now we're near the bottom. We have failed two generations, maybe even three generations of kids because we haven't educated them. Less than half of the kids, 48% of kids in California are proficient in reading and writing. 35% in math and science. 35% in math and science. We are failing our kids. We are indoctrinating our kids into political ideology instead of an education system that prepares us for adulthood, that prepares us to be successful employees, to successful parents, to successful husbands and wives, all of the things that education is supposed to do.
What's the plan for the education?
Education is going to go back to what it was. Education is going to teach people to read, teach people to write, teach people to do math, teach people history, true history, real history, and not government's opinion of what they want you to believe. We are also going to make people, make schools start teaching trades. There was a time in my life When I was in high school, there were kids going to college. You didn't have to take auto shop. You didn't have to take wood shop. You didn't have to take we will teach kids if they want to be an electrician, we'll teach you how to be an electrician in high school. We can get you an apprenticeship in high school. And then when you get out of school, if you're not going to college, you jump right into that job. And now you're an electrician. And you're an AC and heating guy. You're an auto mechanic. You're a carpenter. You're a welder. All of those trades that we no longer have. We absolutely need people to work those trades, and we have to teach kids how to do it. So when they become adulthood and they're out of school, they go into the workforce so the rest of us can eventually leave. That's how life goes around. So we have to teach them to be smart. We have to teach them how to balance a checkbook. We have to teach them what money is, where it comes from, how you get it, how you save it, how you be responsible with your money. We have to teach them either a trade or let them go into, if you're going to be a lawyer, a doctor, a scientist, those types of things, those require school, college, those types of things. And if you want a college degree, more power to you. You can go to college, but everybody doesn't. So our high schools leading up to that have to be able to treat kids like they're going to be productive members of society, employees. They're going to be somebody's employees. We have to treat them how to be good employees, how to be successful in life. And it's common sense. It's a no-brainer. And I will tell you this, you have to have a safe environment to learn. Absolutely have to have a safe environment to learn. As your governor, there will never, ever, 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 ever be another boy in your daughter's locker room. If your daughter is not safe at school, safe to go to the bathroom, safe to go to play sports after, and no boy is going to compete against a girl in athletics. This is not even, it is absolutely bizarre to me that we are even having this discussion, because rational adults should not be having this discussion. It should be common sense that a boy does not compete against girls. It should be common sense that men do not use women's restrooms, that men do not strip naked in a girl's locker room and go shower with them.
You know what the issue with me is? When did that become normal? Why did that become normal?
Because we weren't paying attention. And good people, they just don't want confrontation. It's like, okay, I'm just going to worry about my job, my house, my kids, my work, and maybe my neighborhood, and that's it. It doesn't concern me. But the problem now is everything concerns us. It concerns everybody. And so we've lost out on that, where we can be quiet. And the unfortunate thing, this is another thing that I've promised our media, and I'm promising all Californians. Every single day, I will hold a press conference on the steps of the Capitol, and I will tell you what they did the day before. I will tell you what they talked about. I will tell you who's working against Californians and who's working for a better California. And I'll give you an example of the failure of our government. We can all sit and talk about all kinds of things wrong in California that need to be fixed. And last year I was in Sacramento, and I was there for something else, but I was there while they were doing this. And I wasn't part of this conversation, thank God. The legislature spent the majority part of an entire day arguing about whether Sasquatch should be the mythical character of California. That was the most important thing they could think of. And I will, every single day, tell everybody who did that the day before. These are the people that have no interest in making your life better. And these were the people that were doing some good work. They're not agreeing, but they're going to get there. They argued all day long trying to get the best thing for you, because they differ a little bit, but they're trying. They're working toward a solution. But these people over here, they're not. And what's going to happen is the biggest fear of a politician is not getting elected again. And so if they're afraid of me exposing them for their failures, they're going to do everything they can to do what's right by the people that they're supposed to represent. And we're going to force California government to act like California government. We're going to force them to act like the people that are there to represent us.
You said something earlier. You said we're going to make crime again. Wow. It seems like that's what California needs, right?
It is. We've enabled with weak laws on crime, making crimes not crimes. This mythical thing of criminal justice reform. They call it criminal justice reform because the word reform means that something's broken and we have to fix it. So it's easy for you to get on board with that. If I told you you just know it's reform. Let's make it better. But their version of criminal justice reform was just making things not crimes again. It should let people out of prison. They shouldn't be in prison. They don't believe people should be in prison because it's your fault that they're in prison in the first place. Because if you weren't working hard for all the things that you have, they wouldn't steal it from you.
Make that make sense, right?
It doesn't make sense, but that's how they talk. And so they've enabled a little bit of theft, it goes to more theft. A little bit of crime goes to more crime. It's like raising your kids. If you let your kids keep getting away with stuff, they just push you a little bit more, and now you've got kids running amok. Well, that's what we have in California. We have criminals running amok because we just enabled them. No consequence. You're going to keep doing it.
And for a small period, we had no bail, right?
Yes. So during COVID was no bail, but they're still pushing for that. They're still pushing for no bail. And which basically that means you get arrested for something, you don't go to jail, you just get a court date. That's basically what that means. That's absolutely wrong. In my line of work, I'm telling you, that is absolutely wrong. If you can't afford bail, I would suggest you don't commit a crime. I mean, how simple is that?
That's pretty simple to me, pretty logical.
If you don't want to bail yourself out of jail, you don't have the money to bail yourself out of jail, you probably better not find yourself in jail. And don't act like it's hard to stay out of jail. It's not hard to stay out of jail. Don't victimize somebody. Don't steal from somebody. Don't hurt somebody. Don't steal from somebody. It's kind of simple. It really is. And then you don't have to worry about bail money.
And that's why San Francisco is the way it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there are jurisdictions, even Riverside. Now, I love where I live. Riverside County is good. And we when the whole state was going zero bail, even with COVID, there were a lot of things that were not zero bail in Riverside County. And so we were not subject to that. Our judicial system in Riverside County did a good job. But now they're changing. Now they're moving more and more and more crimes to no bail. Or to take
how does that even make sense? Actions have consequences.
They do. And so basically the argument is you weren't proven guilty. And it's like, well, that doesn't mean you weren't guilty. It just means you weren't proven guilty. And that's what court is for. And here's the thing is our criminal justice system is not perfect. But it's the greatest system in the world. By far. Our justice system is the greatest system in the world. We can always make improvements to it, but you don't scrap it because one person did something wrong with it. Or this notion that crime and justice is racist is absolutely asinine. It's not. I mean, you either commit a crime or you don't. And as your governor, I will tell you this. My goal, I don't know if it's even possible, but my goal as governor will get to a point where we can have a conversation, an hour-long conversation, and nothing that we talk about, we ever say anything about race. I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you came from. I don't care where your ancestors came from. Are you a good person or are you a bad person? That's all that matters. And what color you are or what nationality you are is irrelevant if you are a good person.
I agree. Amen to that. What do you think about this mental health diversion stuff going on?
It's that's horrible. And we're going to see the consequences of that.
Big time.
For you to be able to commit a crime and then just say you're crazy, I have a mental health condition. I have ADD. I have ADHD. I have multiple personality disorder. So I'm not held liable for my crimes. This is going to be a disaster.
Who allowed that?
Lawmakers
So
passed
Gavin
the law.
Newsom
He
consciously signed
he
that.
signed it. Oh yeah.
Like he made a rational decision
Oh yes.
to grab a pen and sign this into law.
It is the purposeful destruction of public safety. We have to realize if it doesn't make sense, we're smart people. We don't have to be rocket scientists. We're still smart. And sometimes the people not rocket scientists are actually the smartest street smart person, the life people. You're smarter life-wise. If it doesn't make sense, if there's not a rational explanation for it, then we can come up with a real reason. There's got to be something underlying. So you tell me how it makes sense for that. It doesn't make sense. You have to be doing it. You didn't do it to keep us safe. You didn't do it to prevent victimization. What did you do it for? You did it to let all of these people have an excuse to commit
More
crimes. And so now it's the purposeful destruction of our civilized society. So they can come in as a big government and say, I'll rescue you.
Could you repeal that?
I will have to work extremely hard to force the legislature to repeal it.
So it can be done,
It can
but
be done.
it'll take time.
Yes. Everything can be repealed. It's just going to be an effort. It's going to be working hand in hand with them that, look, I'll make concessions with you. You don't agree with this, but I want this bill signed. So I'm going to make concessions with you over here. We can work together. We're going to adjust both of our deals that we want going on, and we're both going to get not exactly what we want, but we'll both be okay with it. And that's how you have to fix things. They're going to want something passed that I absolutely refuse to sign, so they're going to have to fix this over here before they do. You fix this over here that's going to make our life safer and better or easier, and I'll sign this bill over here that you want. And in the end, on paper, that's how government's supposed to work. We're supposed to be compromising. We're supposed to be compromising opinions and ideas and everything else to get what's best for everyone.
I know Mr. Gavin Newsom has a soft spot for, he said in an interview, I had to bring this up, for trans kids and trans education and stuff like that. Should any of that type of, how can I put it in a nice way? I gotta be careful here.
So this is where government has absolutely failed. So what he's saying, so that we need to talk about realities. We're talking about less than 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Less than 1% of the population there are only two genders. You're either male or you're female. And I get there's different levels of that. You can be a feminine male, and that's okay.
That's fine.
You can be a masculine female, and that's okay. But you can't be a boy if you're a girl. You can't be a girl if you're a boy. It just is not true.
My issue is, why is this a thing in elementary school? Why is this a thing in junior high?
I don't know either, because we're too afraid. We've gotten to a point where we're too afraid to be called a name. We're too afraid to be called racist. We're too afraid to be called homophobic. We're too afraid to be called transphobic. We don't want to be called names and labeled, so we just be quiet. We just don't say anything. And then the people with that agenda, the people that are doing these things, and I don't even want to talk about why. I don't know why, because it doesn't make any sense. A rational person cannot make sense of this. So there's no sense in us talking about why. It's irrational. So we're not going to do it anymore. And when you talk about numbers, and you'll hear one of them say, oh, you're making such a big deal out of it. In high schools, in California high schools, there's only 12. And I don't know what that number is, but we'll say that. It's like, okay, so if there's only 12, why are we punishing 900,000 and then 600,000 females? Why are we punishing 600,000 females and their psychological harm and maybe even physical harm of being in a locker room naked with a boy and being subjected to that? Why are we punishing all of those girls for one person? It makes absolutely no sense. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then something else along those lines, but not with the boys and girls. It's the kids thing, and it's this notion that government just gets to tell you what to do. With me as your governor, you will never have to vaccinate your kids to get them into school.
That's major. Okay.
We are absolutely learning now that we are being harmed by these vaccinations. Absolutely being harmed. There are doctors that are finally getting the courage to come out and say, yeah, we've known this for years. There's been studies for years that these vaccines cause autism, that these vaccines cause autoimmune disorders, that these vaccines cause all of these other health issues. We know for a fact, scientific fact. Trust the science? Well, the science is telling us that we're being harmed. So why are we still forcing parents to vaccinate their kids? That's up to the parents. That's the parents' role. That's the parents' responsibility. It's not the government's responsibility. Now knowing they're putting black box warnings on vaccines. The highest level
After
of
how
warning
many
you
years?
can get. Yeah. But why then is California government still mandating it? Why do my kids have to get my grandkids vaccinated to go to daycare? There is major, massive harm being done to Californians because government has lost all common sense, and they've taken way too much control away from us where the power belongs, and I'm giving it back. I'm giving it back. I'm giving local government the power back from the state. I'm giving Californians back the power that was taken away from them. I'm giving them back their money that's been taken away from them. We will, once again, this is my goal. By the time I am done with my 8 years, and it's not even going to take 8 years, you're not going to be embarrassed anymore when you go out of state to tell somebody you're from California. I mean, that's what happens now.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to tell anybody you're from California. It's safer if you fly and rent a car instead of driving because you don't want your California plates. We're going to be proud to be Californians again, and we're going to go back to when people were flocking to California because California was the place to make your California dream happen.
So everybody that left will come back.
They will come back. I know they want to anyway. They didn't want to leave in the first place. We will make the environment here bring them back.
Amen to that. I mean 1.4 million people did leave. I hope they come back and they stimulate the economy. They start their businesses.
They will.
Because
I promise you I'm going to make it happen. I promise you I'm going to eliminate all of these things that cause us our problems. We will fix the things that cause us our problems. We're not horrible. There just needs to be some fixes. And I'm going to fix those things
tons
that
of
are harming
fixes,
us.
but
there's tons of them.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. That's what I'm going to do for you. But you all need to get me elected. You all need to make sure that everybody votes for me, that your friends, that your family, and everybody is doing everything they can to make sure people vote. Because I'll end by saying this. We can make it happen, and it's going to be easier than we think, but we have to vote. And the reality of California is that 60% of your friends and family don't vote. And we have to make sure that they do. We have to convince them that your vote does matter. If you don't vote, that's the vote that doesn't matter. It doesn't count. You have to vote.
Elections are going to happen when? In
June.
In June, right?
First Tuesday in June 2nd, and then November is the full election. But the primary, the top two vote getters in the government election, in the governor campaign, will go to November.
Okay.
You need to make me number one, and then we'll win it in November.
How about we do a part 2?
We can do that.
Right before.
We can do that.
I think we should. We're going to have our new location. Maybe we could have 2 more, like on the panel, and we'll make it really interesting.
That'd be good.
So I think so. I knew this wasn't going to. This is just part one. Like, we need to get you elected.
Very good. We'll make it
So
happen.
then we'll definitely make a part two. And I know you drove all the way from Riverside to be here, all the way from Riverside to Downey. So we appreciate you so much. And I can't wait to have you the second time. And
Very good. I appreciate being here. It was a
our
good
future governor,
good night.
Mr. Bianco, thank you so much, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss our weekly episodes. Let's go, baby.